Hello, and welcome back to Get to Know a World of Warships Clan, a short podcast with Boggzy and Synpax. I'm here, of course, with the leader of TNG and my co-host, Synpax.
How's it going, Bogsy?
It's going very well. I'm excited for Clan Wars to start back up.
Yep, the post came out today. Something we were waiting on was the map list, and that allows us to start doing some planning and drawing up strategies. This season's maps, we've got some old favorites: Land of Fire, North, Tears of the Desert, Warrior's Path, which is the name of the season is Warrior's Path. Crash Zone Alpha, which is a relatively recent map, is in the mix, as well as two relatively new maps: Northern Waters and Haven. And well, that's probably not the biggest change with this clan battle season. Uh, you now have the option, in addition to, or in an alternative to a battleship, you may bring an aircraft carrier, and that's going to change things up a lot.
It is, and I am personally very excited to see how this meta shapes up, whether we find out halfway through that CVs maybe were a red herring and that it ends up being better to just continue to bring a battleship. I really have no idea how it's going to go. Do you have any prediction?
I think that the vision issue will lead CVs to be required because if you don't bring a CV, then you're going to be dependent on destroyer spotting. Destroyer spotting, when there are CVs around, is pretty difficult. Now, I could be wrong about all that. And actually, I'm really glad we've got our guest here because towards the end of the program, we're going to pick his brain because he probably knows better than either of us. So why don't you introduce him?
That's right. We're very excited to have our first clan from another region, from another server. Today we are joined by Pete from Smile. Peter, why don't you say hi?
Yes, hello everyone. It's nice to be here. Thank you all for inviting us. It would be, I think, quite pleasure to spend time with you.
Well, we're very excited to have you. Thank you, and congratulations, because as I understand it, you guys are the global Clan Wars champions. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the last season, it is correct. Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Congratulations. That's quite the feat. This was my first season. This last season was my first of like competitive Clan Wars, and I know how difficult it is to reach that height. So again, very well done. And I do have some questions specifically about exactly how it is you get that much effort from your players, about how your leadership actually gets people to commit that amount of time. Can you speak a little bit for me about what it's required to get that many people to continue to play at that level?
Well, I would say that it depends upon like the number of players. You do not need like kind of 30, 20 people. You actually, for the successful clan battle season, you need like 10 to 13 people, even though like 7 to 10 would be enough. It's just a matter of how would you form your team, how would you motivate them to like, perform on this level, because the clan battles take like not just a few days like CODs do. So you need to like I don't know support this level of motivation and involvement from these players. So it's basically like the heaviest question here is how well you will manage your team. Basically, how would you distribute the roles upon the players, how would you support their motivation? So I would say that this is like the key elements of this, like I don't know if I can call it success.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys. So if you've got a crew of that many people, have you had these folks since the beginning? How did you get started with this clan?
Well, let's say that Smile is one of the oldest CIS region clans. Uh, we started to form our crew like I think from the closed beta test, and when the game went to open, we just kind of start to invite new players. We try to find the best. Well, if you aim to be the best on some server, you need to have like the best players. So it kind of, I don't know, it's like 2, 3 years maybe since the beginning of Smile team. And the funniest part is that we have like 7 players, like almost 10 players that are playing since those times. Like they're really old players. Like I don't know, since the very beginning of this like game was released, we played with a single team. well, eventually we changed few people, but let's say the main players are staying from this, like, I don't know, for 2 3 years they're playing with the same with the same players within the same clan, so it it kind of like this.
Sure. And how exactly did you guys come up with smile? Is it something I can't pronounce in another language, or is it just hey, smile?
Yeah, it's kind of hey smile. Well, I would say that the guy who basically originated this clan and this clan tech is like he's not playing anymore, but he, I would say that he was quite like a person who have quite good sense of humor, and he was always like smiling like every time. So I think he just came up with this clan tech like why not?
Sure, have a smile, right?
Yeah.
So, so you said you mentioned there before was a different leader. How exactly did you get into the clan? When you are accepting new players, it sounds like you have an extremely elite group of people who play with you. How does one get into your clan exactly?
Well, we have like our Russian measurement of, let's say, skill. It called Pro Alpha, which is basically represent how well you can extract damage, how well you can like finish up the enemy team, how many frags do you come up within the each battle, within the random battle. And now they spread it these statistics to the clan battles, so it's became quite easier to find new players who like kind of playing quite well within this format of clan battles, and especially important how they could perform within the tournaments, because the major aims of our clan is are like clan battles and the tournaments, because we are not like kind of like regular clan that only play random. We're especially aimed on the tournament and competitive style of gaming.
It
So
certain it
Wait,
certainly seems like it. Global champs. Apparently, you guys are competitive.
you said
yeah,
something. You said something that is new to me. You used the phrase pro alpha,
yeah,
and you also said some way of extracting it from clan battles. Are you
yes,
saying that you have player statistics
from
somehow
clan
from clan
battles,
battles? How did you
correct.
obtain that? Where does that come from?
Well, it came from one of the players that was like top 5, I think, top 10 player on the CIS region. Now he ended up in the development team of, well, basically those who develop in the game.
Right, and you have access to that data. Sorry, I'm having a sound issue here.
Good.
Okay, I'm sorry, just a little bit of a sound issue there. Can you speak again? Sorry.
Sure. So basically, this statistic came up from the player that was originally like just a random player. Then he became the competitive player, and now he ended up in the development team of
Right,
those who basically develop the game.
but but
So he, yeah, yeah, sure.
but that data, as far as I know, at least in is not in the API. There are no player statistics for clan. Like you can different clans over here. We've got I've seen tools, spreadsheets. We have our own tools that are unique to our clan that only we have for analyzing players, but they're entirely dependent upon random battle stats, which is the only thing that I really have access to through the API. Is there like a website you go to where you pull these numbers, or where does it come from?
It actually came from the bot for Discord. Well, firstly, I think it was kind of publishing data from development blog, and now they develop some sort of, let's say, tool for Discord that helps to extract the player statistics. And if
From
I'm not
clan
mistaken,
battles.
I might be, yeah, from clan battles.
Wow, that's I would not have guessed
Well,
that.
we'll have to follow up on that one because that's you've kind of made it's. I don't see too many new things on that front, and that is totally new to me. But we'll carry on with this. We won't get into the weeds on something that's technical. But I imagine there are quite a few people listening to this podcast whose ears are suddenly uh, perking up at that news because we're also trying to build a competitive clan, and any kind of thing that will give us an edge in recruitment or identifying people is huge. And anything what you're describing could would be potentially earth shaking. So I appreciate you sharing that, and we'll probably have an offline conversation about tracking some of that down.
Well, before we get to a commercial break here, and then we get into the really nitty gritty competitive questions, you said that one of your members sort of either does or did work for essentially for wargaming. Is that
Well, he wasn't the member of Smile. He was just kind of top random player on the CIS region. He never been the part of our.
oh, okay, I see. Would you say he is responsible for the Smolensk?
I think that he is not responsible, but this is one of the most toxic ships in the current meta. Even though it was nerfed like a couple of patches before, but still, I heard many of like opinions that from especially from European region that the Russian ships are supposed to be like I don't know imbalanced, too overpowered. But trust me, the CA's region is not supporting this. We are kind of I can speak for my clan. We are hating Smolensk. We never used it in a clan battles. We were like kind of opposing like on any stage we were not using it. We was like kind of no, we won't, guys, and you should not be kind of. You can, I don't know, show quite good results without those imbalanced chips, and we either not using the Kremlin, so it's kind of a myth that CIS region are supporting kind of those invention of imbalanced Russian ships. So
It sounds to me like you might be suggesting that there is some Russian bias in the development of these ships. You wouldn't be saying that, would you?
Well, we can see, we can look at it from the other side. Let's take the example of Henry. Like when it was introduced, those like reload booster. Before this moment, nobody was saying like, oh, Henry's imbalanced. But like when they introduced it, everybody was fine. When they released Kleber, it is imbalanced like up to the degree of Smolensk. But nobody's saying, oh, French BS. Everybody's saying it's kind of Russian BS, but I wouldn't say that this is quite, let's say, objective view, because we have like a lot of ships like Conqueror, I don't know, like Borgun, that are quite imbalanced in quite, let's say, skilled hands. But everybody is saying like, oh, Kremlin is imbalanced, Smolensk is imbalanced, but like
Right.
we have two ships that are, I completely agree they are imbalanced, but it's does not sound to me like a Russian BS, because
Sure.
like practically every nation has some imbalanced ships, like, so
You're absolutely right, and I think anyone who watched the COTS tournament will recall that the most commonly banned ships that were picked at the beginning of each match were, if it wasn't the Kleber, it was the Stalingrad and the Moskva. It was, I mean, the Kleber had such an effect on the meta that folks banned it specifically just to avoid getting an entire team of
Yeah.
Klebers. So before we take a break here, I want to ask one real quick question before I throw the competitive talk to Synpax, because as you know, this is Synpax and I am his idiot. So he's
Oh,
going to talk more about the competitive stuff. So
Ouch.
I really am curious about what's the difference between the servers. I know that Smile operates on the Russian server, the EU server, and I've been told even on the North American server. Can you just real quick speak to the differences in maybe play style, the differences in culture, anything you can give me about the differences between the servers?
Well, I would say that the most like common difference is the meta, which is like formed within the clan battles.
well, let me just, I'll put a finer point on that question. You play, what's interesting, you're a Russian clan, you're on CIS, but last clan battle season, you played all of your games in
Sure.
the on the EU server, and you've played clan battle games in North America. Boggsy's the polite guy, I'm the jerk. So I'm going to ask the question in the jerk way. Which server do you think has the strongest clans? Like which server are you does your win rate suffer the most on, and which server do you club the most on?
Hmm. Well, I would put it this way. I would say that the most competitive server from my perspective is the European one. Well, how can I put it? They have the most the biggest number of users online, so it's natural to have more competitive clans, more competitive teams. So I would say that they are the most competitive. Well, it actually depends because every server has the top few percents of teams that are really competitive and can I don't know, get in trouble of your team like from any server. I would say that on North American region, from my perspective, there are like three clans that I remember when we visited the NA region. We never played Asia because the difference of ping too high, and especially this problem is seen on the NA region because we have I don't know, over 150 ping when we play, and this is it put you within the situation when there is you trying to use something the reload booster, and it take additional 1 to 2 seconds that are really sometimes are nasty to play with
Hmm.
because you just missing the chance, you missing the opportunity. It can basically cost you a game. But still, I would say that all servers are quite competitive, and every server has the most popular, the most skilled teams. So it really difficult to put some server as a top server, but I would say that European server from my perspective is the most competitive at this moment. I think.
In the last clan battle season, though, which did you notice a distinct style, or can you comment on what you found? Maybe North America, they were much more, I don't know, aggressive. Maybe on RU, you found them more passive, or some. Can you give some kind of assessment on the meta strategy that you encountered, in the past on these different servers that might distinguish them?
Sure. Basically, we visited NA, I think, 4 times. One time, the first time we visited in when we had clan battles on 8 level. It was kind of similar to our setup. We seen O7 and what is currently called Brony, I think so, the top one team from America by the
Yeah, what are
results
they
of clan
today?
battles.
It's probably changed.
Yeah, I think so. Because I remember at the point we met them, they were named Prey, I think so. But they instantly changing their clan tag, so it's kind of difficult to. But I would say that CIS meta was always around the smokes and 2 to 3 ships that are setting up smokes, and somebody is just standing in those smokes and spamming HE. But let's say we are not supporters of those meta. We never playing last clan battles. We doesn't have any ship that was able to set up smokes, and it is quite, let's say, similar to European meta. Well, at the end of the season, we mostly played against TWA, Tora, those top teams from you, and some of them. I wouldn't mention whom. We were playing 4 Klebers, copy paste from from NA region, that I am not really supporter of. But I would say that let me put it this way: EU, they are aggressive up to the level as they are supposed to be aggressive. If they will see that the situation on the map allows to stand and just chill and wait for points to tick, they wouldn't be aggressive. So I believe that kind of Russian server would be aggressive. Well, it's difficult to say, but top clans would be probably standing in smoke up to the last seconds, and then they will rush to the points to get those caps. But NA are quite similar for me to European region. They are playing quite safely, and if they are kind of good, they would be just chill and wait for tick to come. But I don't know, the if I can put it this way, the top teams are quite, let's say, similar in playing style. They wouldn't be rushing without any reason. They would play safely. They will try to save their ships. They basically will try to play from the mistake of their opponents. And I would say that this is quite similar for every top clan from every server. So, if I can say it.
So before we go to break, I do want to ask. You referenced what was to many clans the bane of the last season, were, you know, uh, multiple Clubber swarms that they run into, on any given night, and you'd see, four Clubbers, a Stalingrad on one flank, and then like a Shima in Ohio on the other flank. Um, you said you have great disdain for this, but what did you use to counter it? And you had to counter it because, hey, number one global, right?
Sure. Well, I would say that the multiple Kleber meta is countered by quite easy decision. Well, Klebers are being efficient in two ways. They are just giving you early advantage because they like happen within like 1 minute and 30 seconds. So they kind of receiving the early game advantage. But the problem with them is that if you have multiple Klebers, you basically should like find some ship that would be like a solo flanker or some sort of, because they will be quite efficient in devastating any solo ship. But if they did not receive such an opportunity, they basically starting to lose the health. If you basically have like cruisers within your setup, you can like trade your health and the Kleber cannot. So up to the moment they are not receiving the opportunity to kind of remove one ship from the battle, they are not efficient like completely, because they will start losing HP and you can trade basically, and they cannot trade like a lot. And if you have quite good focus on your team, it would be easier to, remove half of the health from any of those Klebers. And if they kind of 10 to 8k HP, they can't like, go for torp attack and like remove any ship. So basically, if they are not receiving this opportunity of early advantage, like, I don't know, if they can't like operate this immense amount of damage within one ship, they will just lose HP and that's it. Basically, you will just alleviate them from the caps and done.
It sort of sounds like, if I can make a reference to like mixed martial arts, it almost sounds like the Clubbers are a really explosive, powerful fighter that comes out really early with lots of initiative and lots of power. But then, as the situation stabilizes, they start to gas and get tired and just start getting picked apart. Is that right?
Yeah, it's correct.
Excellent. Well, thank you for letting me put it in layman's terms. I appreciate it. we're gonna we're gonna take a quick commercial break here, real quick, and then when we come back, we're gonna have more, specifically competitive talk with Peter from Smile. Hello and welcome back to Get to Know a World of Warships Clan, a short podcast with Boggzy and Synpax. We're joined here by the last season's Clan Wars Global winners, Smile, and I'm going to be referring to him from now on by his Russian name, Pavel. Thank you for being here again.
Yeah, thanks again.
So we're going to get into more specific competitive discussion here. I'm going to let Synpax deal with that because right now, quite frankly, I feel like that little kid who gets to go with his dad to work and he doesn't understand anything that's being said, but he's just so excited. So Synpax, please
But the dad
help me
always
out.
turns to the son and says, "One day, all of this will be yours." So,
Unless your son's an idiot.
yeah, well, or maybe your sister. We'll have the conversation with her. So I want to review the record here. Season 1, number 1 global champion. Season 2, number 6. Season 3, number 1 global champion. Season 4, number 1 global champion. Season 5, 5th. Season 6, number 1 global champion. Season 7, number 2 global champion. Season 8, number 1 global champion. And I can't say we have a role in that necessarily, but I will say that in the last season, your competitor for the number 1 spot took a loss from us on right towards the end, and I believe they stopped playing after that because, as you know, when you've got 400 point rating and you play a team that's substantially low, you gain like 6 or 7 points on the wins, but you lose 30 on the losses. So, we were in we had a small side role to play in that. Perhaps I'm wrong, but that kind of consistency doesn't happen by accident. So why don't you take us through what clan battle uh, preparations look like? Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now in preparation for the season that's going to start in a little over a week.
Well, so basically we have like field commander that basically in power of decisive like completely the strategy upon the battle, but the development of any strategy is starting from our players because we like taking together sitting like 10 to 15 people and trying to like analyze current meta, which ships are can counter which basically, what is the current meta for European region, what is the current meta for CIS region. So we basically trying to develop the setup that will counter most like 90% of setups except the clubbers, because it's quite unique setup. So basically I would say that the most like decisive moment is that we kind of involve all of our main players in the process of tactic development. So basically, because I'm primarily playing the cruisers, and I cannot like 100% advise our main BBs what is best for them, what are they supposed to play. I'm just the my side is that I kind of trying to draw the overall tactics, what I want from them to do, and how I want basically them to play, and they from their side basically pick the ships and trying to like kind of step in these tactics, trying to play what I want them to play. And the most like exciting moment is that I can get the experience of best players like on any class, on any like I don't know ship in particular. Basically, I did not assign like player to ship like to one ship and he play like for the whole season. It's just kind of like everybody is involved and they could like I don't know a bit draw some changes in our lineup. So basically I would say that some portion of success is dependent upon the involvement of all of your teammates, because they basically you cannot play all the position like at the same time, you cannot like receive all the experience from any position. Basically you need to like kind of follow your teammates, you need to develop like I would say the consistent and overall tactics that would include all the players experience and their basically view on the current meta.
Do
So basic, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Do you in preparation? Do you do like scrimmage? Are you running scrimmages now with other clans, or running scrimmages inside yourself, or are you just purely doing it from an analytical standpoint, looking at maps and thinking about positions and what lineups will work?
I would say that the last option is works better for us because, like the clan battles take like I don't know 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and there is no need to get like trainings with other clans. You will like basically train your setup and your tactics within like couple of days playing just the random clan battles. So I would say that we just develop overall tactics and then test it within like real battles.
What what are you? Well, you never you may theorize some things. This will we should try this. We should try this, but then you don't really know until you get that first week or so, or even beyond that of clan battles, and then through the season, what worked at the beginning doesn't work as well, and things have to shift. But what, in terms of ship lineup and tactics, what are you excited to try out with this very revolutionary season ahead of us?
Well, the introduction of CVs basically will, from my perspective, will kind of really shape up the meta, because CV, as we all know, just provide the I don't know the spot from any point of map. So it would be like unnecessary from my perspective to use DDs, because like even though we have the introduction of those new European DDs that can in theory they can counter the CVs, but like that's obvious that no any like DD can guarantee the like the good counter for CV, because like eventually you will just lose the health and CV will like lose some portion of his groups, but it's not like kind of trade that you want to have.
Yeah,
So I would say that this season would be like if I'm not mistaken, you can just have like one CV or one or two BBs. Yeah, I'm not sure, one or two
It's either
BBs.
you can have, well, you don't have to have a CV or a battleship, but you can have at most one battleship or one CV. So it's a choice between the two. And I mean, you're right because they were talking about making some changes in terms of how spotting worked. They were experimenting with it, and some of these DDs they have some respectable AA. The new Pan Europeans do, but you know, if the DD is doing spotting, it's not just the CV's damage they have to worry about. It's the CV spotting and then getting shredded by enemy fire. Whether regardless of how able they are to sustain the CV damage. But yeah, it's either one of either battleship or a CV.
But I would also say that in terms of damage, the DDs are quite, let's say, random. You can hit like one battle 10 torps and the other one you can hit zero. With the CV, you don't have such a degree of random. He will, like, 100% he will do damage. Like, it might be different, but still, it's obvious that, like, tier 10 CVs are quite good in damage dealing and the spotting, so which basically make them one of the most ultimate class to, like, spot and do quite good damage at the same time. And the problem is that, like, kind of similar to me, like with the clippers, you cannot, like, kind of spread your team, like, you have one flanker, I don't know, like Venezia or Henry. It would not just kind of be able to hold the flank against the CV. He will just eventually devastate it, like, and the good CV will do it like within a couple of minutes, and the losing of flank is like kind of meaning that you lost the game. And the DDs are not able to provide such a degree of spot and damage like on the regular basis. It's just like more random class in terms of spotting and damage, like compared to CVs.
So
I'm curious.
sorry, go ahead,
Sorry to
Bogsy.
jump in here, guys, but did I hear you correctly earlier when you said that you are you actually considering running without a destroyer?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
I think you're gonna let me ask this question. Previous season, at least in North America, that season was defined by the Claverin. And uh, uh, what do you think? What ship, apart from the CV, of course, do you think is going to be the darling of season 9?
I would say the combination of Minotaur and D.
Like a smoke minnow paired with a DM's radar, or
Yeah.
yeah. So we're
Wow.
as we're looking at it, our clan's looking at it, and I'm sure yours are. One of the one of the counters, I think, to this CV madness is going to be that smoke. We're going to have potentially a very strong smoke meta. So obviously, the players there will be Smolensk, Minnow, um, small, potentially bring a DD that could just work as a smoke ship. But so do you see any alternative to a smoke meta to counter the CV? The emergence of CVs in clan battles.
Yeah, I think that the meta of like quite heavy setups, like couple of Moskvas, couple of Stalingrads would like counter the smoke and eventually the CV. Because I think that this is the mistake to believe that CVs are invincible. They are losing planes, they are losing like groups, and any major mistake will result in the loss of completely whole group, which is like quite bad because you reducing your potential of like damage providing and spotting. And I would say that it is not possible for CV like to run into like 2 3 ships with a more or less adequate A, and like Stalingrad having those quite good A, so you would not be able to basically farm them for free. And I believe that the basically the amount of health point that is provided by the Stalingrads and Moskva would be like more or less good counter to the CV spotting, and of course the CV like providing the huge damage to the opponent team.
Right, right.
Right.
So at least in our internal discussions and some of what I've heard is that there's two directions at the end of the season. Because it's really about getting to the end of the season because that's where all of the metas that worked at the beginning kind of fall apart. And one that kind of counters everything or that is able to sustain itself emerges from sort of the mess of a confusion early season. And on one hand, you've got the smoke plays, which would in some cases make it easier to get into the caps, maybe be very effective against um, uh, any kind of air attack as long as they've got, like, if you've got fighters spotting enemy planes coming in and you've got a couple cruisers that are undetectable because of smoke, they're just going to evaporate those squadrons. Um, where the alternative to that is these ships, these 50 millimeter Russian cruisers that, apart from being having a huge hit points and having a 12K radar, where if they can get to that smoke with that radar, it's lights out for those cruisers. Is that because the CV is spotting, their shell ballistics have the velocity that they can, a Des Moines max range like 15 something K, you put range mod on, you're not hitting anything in that range. But the Moskva Stalingrad, the shell velocity will allow that something spotted at a pretty far range, in that like 15, 16, 17, 18. They can hit it and hit it reliably. So at the end of the season, what do you think is going to emerge as dominant, a smoke meta or a high ballistic 12K radar Russian cruiser meta?
I would say that it would be some sort of hybrid,
Interesting.
because the smokes are basically they can be countered by the radars the first moment, and the another moment is that well, for example, Hakaru can just go for blind shot like within the smoke. He can spam the torps, and it would not be possible like to be like 100% protected within the smoke. And the like most of the maps that would be within these clan battles are not so big. Like, yeah, North is quite big map, but like Land of Fire, the Crash Zone Alpha, they are not so big, and you can't just like go for free and stand like for 2, 3, 5 minutes within the smoke without being penalized for this. So it would be kind of, I believe, the hybrid, some sort of like Mino standing within the cap, going for this cap, and some sort of Stalingrads, and I don't know, some other cruisers like DM, or maybe, I don't know, Moskva, that will basically support him with the A and within the and with the Raider cap.
So will Minnow be the new destroyer of this season?
I would say that Mino was always like kind of good alternative for being for having the DD within your basically line.
What do you think is going to be the dominant CV?
Yeah, that's going to be
Hakuru.
my question next.
Yeah, it would be Hakuru 100%.
The AP bombers,
Sure.
okay. So I hope that we get the chance to have another conversation maybe after this clan battle season and see how some of these predictions line up and what ended up emerging. Um, I guess Bogsy, are we at the final segment here?
I believe so. Pavel, as you know, we have a segment that I love very much called Poach Synpax, where we're going to ask you to pitch your clan, pitch Smile to Synpax and to anyone else who might be listening on why they should want to join Smile.
Yeah, and we're suspending reality here, as if Smile would ever be interested in recruiting me. But we're putting that aside. What would you say is, there's player turnover. You said the founder of the group sort of has stepped away, and eventually, people cycle through this game. And if somebody is a super, super, super deep purple Unicom or whatever they use as the metric in Russia, is an extremely strong player, why should they consider coming to play for Smile?
Well, I would say that the most dominant position is that we aimed at competitive gaming. Like, at any point, we participate in all of the tournaments, like except like the most minor one when we like in CIS region having like 3 versus 3, which is not kind of interesting for us. But we aimed at the most like highest competitive level, we aimed at CODs. We like participated at like all of the CODs that was introduced in CIS region, and we like kind of, I don't know how to put it right, because we basically not aimed at the like random play. We just want to have like the strongest team. We want to like having the medals and everything. We want to like sustain this level of competitive gaming. And basically, I would say that those players that are mainly aimed at the same goals would have quite good experience and quite good opportunity to basically join Smile and try and like in chasing of those medals and those trophies basically. So I would say those who aimed at the highest level of gaming and especially competitive gaming, well, supposed to consider us like as good alternative to maybe the current clan they are a member of.
Well, I'm sold. I've already dropped my TNG tags. How about you, Bogs? You ready to transfer over to the Russia server?
So yeah,
The
sure.
first one, the first poacher to get Synpax. We have it, ladies and gentlemen.
So sure, just email me after this conversation. Yeah, we're gonna have some conversation offline.
Whew. Okay. Well, look, really glad to have you with us. I'm going to just do a quick plug here. In the description below is a link to the North American Clan Embassy and the TNG server. All are welcome. It's a great place to hang out, find divisions, talk to other clan leaders, get scrimmages, recruit new members. And the Discord link is in the description, and we're going to try to get our mailbag for this podcast up and running. The email address is the new guys wows at gmail.com. So the new guys WOWS at gmail.com. So if you have any questions or there's a clan you'd like featured, please reach out to us. So I'll hand it back to Bogsy.
Well, thank you. And again, Pavel, thank you so much for being here. This has been like, I feel right now, I feel like I've had so much incredibly useful information piled on top of my brain that it's reminding me of like Tetris, that old game Tetris, where once you think everything's going great, and then all of a sudden all these blocks start coming in and they rapidly pile up, and then it says you lose.
That's an
So I'm going to
appropriate
go,
Russian reference, by the way. That is a Russian originated game.
I am
How
going
topical of you.
to, I planned it too.
Hmm,
Uh,
I can
I'm
tell.
going to go and digest all of this because it's just fascinating. So thank you again so much for being here. Is there anything else, Pavel, you'd like to plug before we sign off here?
No, I don't think so. I just want to say again, big thank you to like inviting us here. It's quite. I think like we more or less involved within the cooperation in between servers. We like to talk to other clans to share our experience, to receive their experience. It always like quite good to have a conversation in between those realms, because every realm has a unique meta and unique understanding of the gaming like we play in. So it's kind of quite good to be here, and thank you again for inviting us here.
It has truly been our pleasure, and looking forward to signing off with you here. Good luck in the next season of Clan Wars. We'll be eagerly watching you and your progress. And yeah, I guess that's it for now. So thank you to our guest, Pavel from Smile. Thank you, Synpax. And this has been another episode of Get to Know a World of Warships Clan, a short podcast with Boggzy and Synpax. Looking forward to seeing you all next time.
Thank you.